Hi everybody, thanks for coming and joining us on the webinar tonight, 10 ways to use your Equissage. I think there's about 10,000 ways to use your Equissage, so I have just selected a few things that people may or may not be aware of, and what I really hope to do tonight is just to perhaps prompt you to start thinking about the different ways in which you perhaps can use your Equissage, so that when you're working your horse or you're being presented with issues, you know, there's so many things that we can do with our Equissage. There's too many for me to go through everything in great detail in one webinar, but hopefully this will be a bit of food for thought for you all and to help you with some ideas on the ways that you can use it. And as per always, my advice is very generic, general advice. I don't know your individual horse's circumstances and the issues that you are specifically dealing with, particularly if you're dealing with any veterinary issues. So just keep in mind that the advice I'm giving is general advice and suggestions. So here we go. Okay, so first of all, the key Equissage features that we should all be aware of is that there's different therapy types with the new machines that we have. There's a standard vibration where it's just on all the time. We have cyclopolymodulation, or CPM, and you get to that one by pressing both the up arrows at the same time. This is a slightly more intense form of the therapy. It has a shorter undulation of the vibration, and it's really good for warming up, really good for rehab. And there's a number of different ways in which you can use CPM. Tranquilsage is the next setting, again by pressing the two up arrows on your machine, on your back pad or on your hand unit, you'll get to Tranquilsage, and that's a slower undulation of the vibration, and that is really good for calming, relaxing, you know, really nice after travel, good if the horse is in pain, if they've been injured and they're in pain, it's really nice to use that to help settle and relax them before you start looking to rehab them. So just keeping in mind there are three different settings. The more you learn about them, the more you understand them, the more that you will be able to you know, come up with your own treatment plans for your horse's particular issues. So I do encourage people to you know, read up and understand what these are in your manual. They're described in detail. So have a look, and if you haven't got an Equissage yet and you want to know more about these settings, then let me know and I can help you out. A lot of the things that I'm covering tonight are in regards to using your hand unit in particular ways, and you know, the assumption is that whilst you're doing this with the hand unit, the back pad is also on. So the go-to setting for the back pad for a majority of people when they're using Equissage prior to riding is on CPM on medium. So whatever your normal setting is for the back pad, you can have that on, and then these are just some ideas on different ways in which you can use your hand unit. So first of all, if we are dealing with a horse that has a tendency to twist their head while you're riding and be quite tight through the neck, perhaps a horse that doesn't have a lot of top line, horses that don't, you know, they've got quite slim necks, it's an indication that they're not working and using their body correctly when they are working. So just running your hand unit, holding it a little bit like a brush. As you can see there, I've got the vented side away from the horse, and just run your hand unit down over the neck, over those long muscles, slowly, doing it a few times. Spend 2 or 3 minutes on each side of the neck, and much like you would when brushing, just do it in the direction of the hair. It's pretty simple. You don't have to know exactly where your horse is tight, because the therapy will go through the entire neck. The one way that you can, I guess, get a little bit more specific with this is just pay attention to your horse's eyes. As you can see from the angle of this photo, when you're doing this treatment, you can see your horse's eye, and they'll quite often do like a big blink when you get to an area that it's really quite nice for them. So just read your horse's body language and go with your horse, because every single horse is different, much like we're all different. your horses are different, and if you've got the time and take the time to listen to them, you can learn an awful lot about what's going on inside just by paying attention to their responses that they give you. So the next one, if I can make my mouse work. So TMJ, I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail about the TMJ itself, except to recommend that you all, after this webinar, jump on Google and go on research. It's a often forgotten about area of the horse when we're doing things with them. It's a critical part of the horse in terms of their chewing and the digesting of food. It affects their body balance and biomechanics. The picture that I've taken on the left-hand side there, rather than putting the hand unit directly on the TMJ, I've actually got it a little bit lower down, so you don't have to have the hand unit directly on the spot. Being a few inches away or even a few feet away, it's still going to get to that area. You'll actually find that the horses will probably quite like it on their TMJ, but you just work with your horse. It's a different sensation for them to have the therapy going directly to their skull, so make sure you're using the rubber cap. As you can see in the picture there, I've got the rubber cap. That just makes it more comfortable for them. To fill it for yourself, just put the rubber cap in, and you've got to press with a little bit of pressure. Don't do it too loosely, otherwise it'll sort of slap you, but press the rubber cap against your own forehead just so you can feel what it feels like going through your head. And then if you really want to, you can turn it around and put the hard end on your head, just so you can understand the reason why we use a rubber cap on any bony areas of the horse. So couple of minutes on each side, wait for the horse to lick and chew. Quite often after you've treated this area on the horse, you'll get really big licks and chews. You might even get some yawns immediately, and yeah, really work in that area, particularly on your horses that are a bit hard in the mouth, and again that tendency to be a bit tight and stiff and twisted through the neck is usually transferred up into that area of the jaw as well. Treating the pole. So again, I'm just using the rubber cap or the scalp adapter on the hand unit. Again, you can turn it around and use the round end of the hand unit if you want, but most horses like for you to start off with the rubber cap. It's just a little bit softer. And again, if in doubt, if you want to feel what it feels like, put the different areas of the hand unit on yourself. So on the palm of your hand, put the rubber cap on your hand, put the side of the hand unit on the palm of your hand, put the round end, and then put the pointy end, and feel it for yourself, the differences that it makes when you're using different areas of the hand unit, so you've got an understanding of what it is that you're doing for your horse. So if your horse is a little head shy, not all horses are immediately happy with you to put the hand unit right behind their ears. Just start a little further down the neck. So in this photo, I'm holding the hand unit in my left hand. If I was working with a horse that has a tendency to be a little bit head shy, I'd actually hold the hand unit in my right hand, place it about halfway down the neck, and I'd place my left hand on the pole. And if I can feel it through my left hand, so if I can feel it through the hand that's on the pole, then the treatment is getting to that area. So you don't have to be specifically on the spot, because the therapy does travel so far. You don't have to get right there, and you can gradually work your way up, and you'll find that as the horse gets more and more comfortable and reduction in pain, they'll actually be happy for you to put the hand unit there. And again, be guided by your horse. They'll usually direct you to where they actually want it. Treating the windpipe. So if your horse is a bit unwell, we're coming into winter, coughs and colds are not uncommon for the horses, and they quite often have those big coughs when you first hop on, especially when you start trotting and moving that mucus. Before you ride, just run your hand unit down the windpipe. You don't have to press too hard, as you can see there. I'm just gently running the hand unit down the horse's windpipe underneath the chest. Do that for a couple of minutes, or a minute or two, and just on standard, it's that one's a fairly simple treatment, but very, very effective. How are we going? Next one. So if you've got a horse that is quite girthy, or a horse that's particularly tight in the shoulders, an often forgotten about spot, because it's really nice to get into the front of the shoulder with the hand unit and feel those muscles get really nice and loose and soft. We sometimes forget to come in from the other side of the shoulders. So I'm holding the hand unit a little bit awkwardly to take this photo, but just running your hand unit down behind the elbow, and even just holding it in that spot. Again, every horse is a little bit different. Be guided by your horse's feedback. If you're not quite sure what feedback your horse is giving you, just plonk the hand unit there and hold it there for a couple of minutes and let the therapy do its job. It's really simple. If you can hold a brush and you can hold a hand unit, then you can give your horse the therapy. It's that straightforward. Okay, next one. Top of the shoulders. So if you've got a horse that's tendency to be a little bit high in its head carriage, doesn't like to reach out and stretch forward down through the neck and reach over, just make sure you do focus in a little bit up near the withers and the top of the shoulders. Just run the hand unit down on the edge of the shoulders there. You can even just leave it in one spot for a minute or so. Just make sure you get up to that area, because again, we've got a tendency to focus just on the point of the shoulder. So yeah, just make sure you get up the top as well. Again, you don't have to spend a long time there. The back pad is doing a lot of the work through that area anyway, so you don't have to spend 15 minutes or anything with your hand unit there, but just a couple of minutes, a minute each side. Work through that area, help your horse soften and relax before you hop on. Treating the loins. So quite often, if you run your hand down your horse's back, particularly if your horse is prone to a sore back, or they've had a lot of heavy riding, or you've been on them, so if you've been at a show, for instance, and you've been sitting on your horse for ages, or you've been to a clinic and you've been riding and you've been on them, or you've been out for a long trail ride and you've just been sitting on them for much longer than you normally would, they get really sore and really tight through this area. It's quite easy to see just by running your fingers down and applying some pressure down over your horse's back. So you can just hold the hand unit in that area like I am here, or you can actually run it long ways across the loins. Again, when you are moving it across the horse, just move it fairly slowly, give it time to penetrate into those muscles. The therapy does the work for you, and yeah, just a couple of minutes on each side. And you don't have to do all of these at once, by the way. These are just some different ideas, and you'll find which bits your horse seems to really, really enjoy. You'll probably find that you've got your back pad on, you do your leg boots, and then you might do a bit on the neck or a bit on the hindquarters for your particular horse. This horse that I'm taking photos of, I won't ride him without running the hand unit down each side of his neck for a couple of minutes. He has his back pad on every time as well, but I'll always do his neck because it makes the world of difference to how he works. Hamstrings, so I've kind of not quite on the hamstrings there, I've come around the corner a bit, but just starting from the top near the dock, running your hand unit all the way down over the hamstrings. Just be aware if the horse is quite tight or if they're touchy. If they're prone to pick up their back legs, just make sure you've got hold of your hand unit and you don't drop it. One thing that's really interesting, if you do have a horse that's very touchy and very sore in the hamstrings, if you try and run your hand down, or your fingertips down the hamstrings, applying some pressure, and you get the quivering and the flinching and the moving, and it's really quite painful for them to have you run your hands down there. Using the hand unit, after a couple of passes through, just see how much pressure you can apply with that hand unit against the hamstrings, and it's quite amazing how the horses are much more willing and will readily accept pressure from the hand unit rather than your hand itself, because the therapy is that nice for them and releases the pain and the tension that you can actually press there and not have that sort of negative response from them where they get tight when you're just doing it with your fingertips. So particularly if you're doing a jumping session or your horse is just prone to tight hamstrings, run your hand unit down the back leg, down the hamstrings on both sides, just to 2 or 3 runs over each side. If you've got chronic hamstring issues, then use your hand unit in the leg boots to do the work for you rather than sitting there for 10 minutes. I'd just use your boots on your hind legs to really treat those hamstrings on a more regular basis. I hope all this is making sense. Treating the dog. So we often don't think about the dog, but it's an extension of the spine. And, we want the horses to be soft and supple over their back, and that includes soft and supple in their dock as well. And that in itself can sometimes be interesting because some horses hate having their dock touched and they jam it down really, really tight and just about break your fingers if you try and hold onto their dock. Other horses love it and they'll curl it around like I don't know, they just about do a circle with it. They're quite amazing where they can put their dock. But it's too much information going through my head and not enough coming out of my mouth. It's important to not overlook the dock. So just run your hand unit down each side of the dock a couple of times and beware of the waggling tail. Horses, particularly horses that like having their dock scratched, and even horses that are a bit funny with their dock being touched, quite often really like the hand unit on their dock, and they'll move it quite suddenly, and yeah, it's like they waggle it, and it's just be careful that they don't knock it out of your hand. So make sure you've got a good hold of it when you're treating their dock. The other thing that you can do is you can actually hold the end of the dock near where the rest of the tail is, just to try and help steady their dock as you run the hand unit down for the really wild ones, because some horses just are it's like having another limb. It just goes got a mind of its own and it goes everywhere. So be warned, beware of the waggling tail. Okay, treating colic. So how have I done that? Oops, sorry, I've just managed to, there we go. Treating colic. This one, many of you may have seen my pictures I put up recently. I've had a number of clients have huge success with colic. I've just noticed my typo in this. I'm not quite sure what tranquil swage is, but you guys know that I mean tranquillisage. Obviously, the first thing you do when your horse is showing signs of colic is call the vet. I cannot, yes, we have amazing success with colic with Equissage, but I cannot stress that enough. Vet, 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 vet. Equissage can be incredibly helpful with colic, but unless you know exactly what's going on inside, it's all a little bit of an unknown quantity. So yeah, please don't ever think that you can just cure colic or fix colic with Equissage, because it can be very beneficial, but it's a vet thing. Hopefully I've got that message across. Call the vet, call the vet. So while you're waiting for the vet though, pop your back pad on tranquillisage, not swage, on high intensity, and allow the therapy to help to relax the horse. So quite often when they're first getting signs of colic, they're tight, they're sore, everything's just irritated, and tranquillisage helps to just relax and settle them. And I use the hand unit over the belly and the hindquarters. Quite often you might actually get to a particular spot on the belly and the horse will bring his nose around like they do when you want them to scratch them somewhere and almost indicate to you where they want it. Again, when you're using this therapy, if you just pay attention to your horse and what they're telling you, it's incredible how much more insight you can have into what you can do for them. So if there's a particular area where the horse is really sort of wanting you to put the hand unit, I'd actually crank the hand unit up to high for a minute or so and really get some therapy into that area, and then just put it back to medium again. After the initial treatment, CPM every 5 hours or so after that. That's usually when you're checking on the horse, your benefits from your treatment are lasting 5 to 8 hours anyway, so you don't have to do it every hour. But yeah, every few hours with colic, just put it on CPM, intensity on medium through to about high. The horse that I put up on my Facebook recently, I started off, that horse had obviously been unwell for some time before I saw him, so I did not start with Tranquilizage. I went straight to CPM, and I started off, so CPM started off on low because he was feeling pretty sore and sorry for himself, and just worked my way up through a high. So the last, half or quarter of the treatment was on high on CPM. And as you guys have seen, hopefully in the photos, that the rest there is history, and it was wonderful to see the recovery of that horse who had pretty much given up previously. So that, if I counted correctly, is 10 ways to use Equissage. So I'm guessing a lot of the people who are on this call or are watching this recording afterwards have already got an Equissage, which is awesome. Yay you. Well done. Great decision, and I hope you're enjoying it. For those who don't yet have an Equissage and really want to have a look and find out a bit more specifically how it can be beneficial for your horses, do register for a complimentary consultation. If you're local to me, I'll come out. If you're interstate or somewhere else, your local consultant will come out to see you and go through everything with you. Equissage, I don't know anything else that comes anywhere close to what it can do for horses and also humans, so it's well worth looking at. And I'll provide training and support and webinars. Let's see, contact me. There'll be a link that Julie will send out in the email afterwards that's got a link to where you can register for more information, or just go to my Facebook page, Equissage SA Emma, and send me a PM and I'll get back to you. And